Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Easy English with Kai. I'm your host, Kai, and today we have a very special guest with us. His name is Daniel, and he's an English teacher with over 10 years of experience. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Kai. I'm really happy to be here today.
We're excited to have you. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that many of our listeners ask about: how to practice English by yourself. Many people don't have someone to practice with every day, so they want to know how they can improve their English alone. Daniel, what do you think about this?
I think it's a great topic. Practicing by yourself is not only possible, but also very effective if you do it the right way. You don't always need a partner to improve your English. There are so many things you can do alone to practice speaking, listening, and even thinking in English.
That's great to hear. Let's start with speaking. Many people feel shy or nervous to speak English with others. How can they practice speaking by themselves?
Yes, speaking is often the hardest skill to practice alone, but there are some fun and easy ways to do it. One of my favorite methods is talking to yourself. It might sound funny, but it works. For example, when you're at home, describe what you're doing in English. Say things like, "I'm making coffee," or "I'm cleaning the kitchen." It's simple, but it helps you get used to forming sentences in English.
That's a great idea. I sometimes do that too. Another thing I like is recording myself. I talk about my day or a topic I like, and then I listen to the recording. It helps me hear my mistakes and improve my pronunciation.
Yes, recording yourself is fantastic. It's like being your own teacher. You can hear what you're doing well and what you need to work on. Another tip is to shadow native speakers. This means you listen to someone speaking English-like in a podcast or a video, and you try to repeat what they say exactly how they say it. It's great for pronunciation and rhythm.
Shadowing sounds interesting. I'll definitely try that. What about listening? How can we practice listening by ourselves?
Listening is one of the easiest skills to practice alone, because there are so many resources. You can listen to podcasts like this one, or watch YouTube videos, movies, and TV shows in English. Start with something easy, like cartoons or slow-speaking podcasts. If it's too hard, use subtitles, but try to use English subtitles, not subtitles in your language.
That's a good tip. I also like listening to songs in English. I read the lyrics and try to understand what the singer is saying. It's a fun way to learn new words and phrases.
Yes, music is a great tool. Singing along is also good for pronunciation and fluency. Another thing you can do is dictation. Listen to a short audio clip and write down what you hear. Then, check the transcript to see if you were correct. It's a great way to improve your listening and spelling at the same time.
Dictation sounds challenging but useful. Now let's talk about vocabulary. How can we learn new words and remember them when we're practicing alone?
One of the best ways to learn vocabulary is to use flashcards. You can make your own, or use apps like Quizlet or Anki. Write the word on one side and the meaning or a picture on the other side. Review them every day. Another tip is to learn words in context. Don't just memorize a list of words. Read a sentence or a short story that uses the word so you understand how to use it.
That makes sense. I also like to write new words in a notebook and try to use them in sentences. It helps me remember them better.
That's a great habit. Writing is another skill you can practice alone. You can keep a daily journal in English. Write about your day, your plans, or your thoughts. It doesn't have to be perfect. The important thing is to practice.
I agree. Writing helps me think in English. Another thing I do is read out loud. I read books, articles, or even social media posts in English. It helps me practice pronunciation and fluency.
Reading out loud is an excellent idea. It's like killing two birds with one stone. You practice reading and speaking at the same time. You can also try role-playing. Pretend you're in a situation like ordering food at a restaurant or having a job interview. Practice what you would say in English.
Role-playing sounds fun. I'll try that. What about grammar? How can we practice grammar by ourselves?
Grammar can be tricky, but there are many ways to practice. You can use grammar books or websites like Grammarly or Duolingo. Another tip is to notice grammar in real life. When you're reading or listening to something in English, pay attention to how sentences are structured. For example, notice how past tense verbs are used or how questions are formed.
That's a good tip. I also like to write sentences using new grammar rules. For example, if I'm learning the present perfect tense, I write 5 sentences using that tense.
That's a great way to practice. Another thing you can do is correct your mistakes. When you write or speak, you'll make mistakes, and that's okay. The important thing is to learn from them. If you're not sure about something, look it up or ask a teacher online.
That's very helpful. Now let's talk about motivation. Sometimes it's hard to stay motivated when you're practicing alone. Do you have any tips for that?
Yes, motivation is key. One tip is to set small, achievable goals. For example, your goal could be to learn 10 new words this week or to speak English for 10 minutes every day. When you reach your goal, reward yourself with something you enjoy.
I like that idea. I also think it's important to make it fun. If you enjoy what you're doing, you'll want to keep practicing. For example, if you like movies, watch them in English. If you like cooking, follow a recipe in English.
Exactly. Make it part of your life. Another tip is to track your progress. Keep a notebook or use an app to write down what you've learned. When you see how much you've improved, it will motivate you to keep going.
That's a great idea. Finally, do you have any last tips for our listeners who want to practice English by themselves?
My last tip is to be consistent. Practice a little every day, even if it's just 10 minutes. It's better to practice a little every day than to practice for hours once a week. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing all these useful tips with us.
Thank you, Kai. It was a pleasure to be here.
And thank you everyone for listening to today's episode. I hope you found these tips helpful. Remember, you don't need a partner to improve your English. You can practice by yourself and still make great progress. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. See you soon.